Most of us go through life chasing love. We want someone to care about us, someone who makes us feel seen, understood, and valued. From movies and books to songs and stories, we're told that love is the answer to everything, that finding the one will complete us, that once we're in love, everything will fall into place. But what if that story isn't true? What if love, as we understand it, is built on lies? What if it's not the magical force we've been taught to believe in, but something else entirely, something that hides a much darker truth about who we are and what we really want? Over 2 centuries ago, a philosopher named Friedrich Nietzsche dared to question everything we believed about love. He wasn't interested in sweet stories or romantic fantasies. He wanted the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it was. And the truth he found about love was harsh, even painful. Nietzsche believed that most people don't really fall in love, they fall in fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of facing themselves. Fear of not being enough. So they run into the arms of another person, hoping that love will fix everything. But when you enter a relationship from a place of fear, it's not love that grows, it's dependency. You might think you're in love, but really, you're just leaning on someone else to avoid dealing with your own emptiness. That's not strength. That's weakness. Nietzsche called this way of thinking slave morality, when people choose comfort, safety, and approval instead of truth, courage, and independence. And this, he believed, is the root of many broken relationships. We expect another person to complete us, to fill a hole inside us that we've never learned to fill on our own. But that's not their job. And when they inevitably fail to meet those expectations, we feel disappointed, hurt, or betrayed. Not because they changed, but because the illusion we were living in started to fall apart. That's when things get toxic. The same couple who couldn't keep their hands off each other now barely talk. The passion fades. The excitement dies. They stay together not because they truly want to, but because they're afraid to be alone again. It's not love that brought them together. It was fear. And fear, Nietzsche believed, always leads to weakness. So, what is real love? According to Nietzsche, it's not about need. It's about choice. 2 whole people who don't need each other to survive, but who choose to walk side by side. They stay because they want to, not because they have to. That kind of love is rare and powerful. But before we can get to that kind of love, we have to talk about something even deeper and darker: desire. Because Nietzsche didn't stop at questioning love. He went even further. He wanted to understand what really drives human attraction, what makes us fall for certain people and not others. He believed that attraction isn't random. It's not fate. It's not some magical spark. It's a silent battle for power. In every relationship, there's a hidden struggle, a push and pull. One person usually has more control, more influence, more emotional leverage. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it's subtle, but it's almost always there. And we're often drawn to people who make us feel powerless. Think about it. The people who broke your heart, were they kind and consistent? Or were they distant, unpredictable, and hard to get? Most of us are drawn to the ones who don't give us full attention. The ones who keep us guessing. The ones who make us chase. Why? Because that chase gives us a feeling of urgency, of longing, of obsession. And obsession feels a lot like love, at least at first. But it's not love. It's addiction. It's craving something we think we can't have. And the more someone pulls away, the more we want them. It's a power game, and most of the time, we don't even realize we're playing it. Nietzsche called this the will to power, the deep, unconscious force that drives everything we do. We don't just want love. We want to feel important. We want to feel wanted. We want to feel like we matter. And when someone gives us just enough attention to keep us hooked, but not enough to feel safe, we fall harder. Not because they're good for us, but because we're chasing the feeling of being chosen. The truth is, the people who trigger these feelings in us are rarely the ones who make good partners. They're the ones who hold the power, the ones who stay just out of reach. And that distance? That's what keeps us coming back. We mistake it for love, but it's really just emotional hunger. Nietzsche saw all of this. He famously said, "What is done out of love always takes place beyond good and evil." He meant that love isn't always pure or good. Sometimes it's selfish. Sometimes it's manipulative. Sometimes it's a way to gain power over someone else or to give away power because we're too scared to hold it ourselves. That's why nice people often get overlooked. The partner who's stable, loyal, and always there, they often get taken for granted. Meanwhile, the one who's distant or mysterious gets all the attention. Not because people are bad, but because power is magnetic. The less someone needs you, the more you want them. And the more someone resists you, the more you crave their approval. Nietzsche called this the psychology of the herd. It's the idea that we don't always think for ourselves. We want what others want. We chase what's just out of reach. We follow the crowd, even when it leads us into pain. And in today's world, this has only gotten worse. Social media, dating apps, and endless choices have turned love into a competition. People swipe left and right like they're shopping. They ghost, breadcrumb, and keep their options open, not because they're evil, but because they've learned to treat dating like a game of strategy, not connection. The result? Fewer real relationships. More confusion. More heartbreak. Because people aren't connecting anymore, they're performing. Everyone's trying to win. And in a world like that, real love doesn't stand much of a chance. Nietzsche predicted this. He said, "In the end, one loves one's desire, not what is desired." In other words, we don't really love people. We love the feeling of wanting them. We love the high, the chase, the idea of love more than the reality of it. But here's the hopeful part. Once we see through the illusion, we can begin to make different choices. We can stop chasing people who hurt us. We can stop giving our power away. We can start doing the hard work of becoming whole on our own. Because that's what Nietzsche wanted in the end. Not for us to give up on love, but for us to stop lying to ourselves about what love is. To stop looking for someone to save us and start becoming strong enough to stand alone. Only then, he believed, can we truly love, not from fear or need, but from freedom. And that kind of love, it doesn't fade. It doesn't turn toxic. It doesn't break us. It builds us. Sometimes we think we love people, but what we really love is how they make us feel. It's not about who they are, but about the high they give us, the feeling of being seen, desired, or validated. The hardest part is this. Often, the people who hurt us the most are the ones we let in the deepest. And deep down, it's because we hope that their love will fill something missing inside us. The philosopher Nietzsche once said, "No one can build you the bridge to cross the river of life. Only you can do that." What he meant is simple but powerful. Nobody else can complete you. If you're searching for wholeness in someone else, you'll always be at their mercy. Their love becomes a drug, their attention your oxygen. And when they pull away, you fall apart. But this is just the beginning of the truth. The next part is darker and more uncomfortable. It explains why so many relationships slowly fall apart and why love sometimes starts to feel like a trap instead of freedom. Nietzsche didn't just question love, he went further. He openly criticized marriage. Not because he hated the idea of staying with someone, but because he saw the way marriage often destroys the very thing it promises to protect. He believed that marriage, especially the way it's structured in modern society, turns love into a contract. Two people sign up for a lifetime, but over time, passion fades. What once felt magical becomes routine. What started with fire ends in silence. He called it a kind of mutual imprisonment. Both people lose a little bit of themselves to keep the relationship going. Love, which should be alive and wild, gets buried under responsibility and expectations. Two people who once couldn't keep their hands off each other now feel trapped, not because they don't care, but because the structure has killed the spark. It's a brutal truth that most don't want to admit. Modern marriage, as it's commonly practiced, can be a graveyard for desire. The moment you make a promise to stay forever, you start clinging to the idea of security. But desire doesn't live in safety. It lives in uncertainty, in the thrill of the unknown, in the feeling that something could be lost. When love is forced to follow rules, it starts to fade. Think about it. How many couples do you know who are deeply happy after many years? Not just getting by, not just managing the bills or raising kids, but truly alive and in love? The statistics tell us what we already feel in our gut. Divorce rates are high. Many couples stop being intimate. Some stay together out of habit, fear, or guilt, not love. And this isn't because people are broken. It's because the system itself doesn't work. Nietzsche believed marriage goes against something deep in human nature. He once said that marriage is just a long conversation that always ends the same way, with nothing left to say. In other words, the magic runs out not because of time, but because of ownership. When someone becomes yours, the chase ends. The excitement is gone. This is where things get worse. The comfort that marriage promises, the stability, the security, can actually kill the very attraction that brought two people together. Because desire isn't born in comfort. It comes from tension, from mystery, from risk. That's why so many people end up cheating. Not because they're evil or bad, but because they feel empty. They miss that feeling of being wanted. They miss the spark. They want to feel alive again. Nietzsche didn't say cheating is right. He said it's a symptom, a sign that people are starving, not for sex, but for aliveness. And society doesn't help. Instead of encouraging us to grow and stay honest with ourselves, it tells us to stay quiet. It tells us wanting more is selfish, that feeling bored is normal, that slowly losing passion is just what happens. But Nietzsche didn't accept this. He believed that each person has to fight to stay true to themselves in a world that wants them to follow the crowd. If you give up your fire just to fit in, you don't gain peace, you lose yourself. So what's the way out? Is the answer to give up on love completely? No, Nietzsche's answer was much more powerful and more freeing. He believed we need to reimagine love entirely. Not as a need, but as a choice. Not two incomplete people looking for someone to fill the gap, but two complete individuals coming together to create something new. Love that lasts isn't built on need, it's built on strength. The best relationships, the ones that really work, aren't based on fear or dependence. They're based on freedom and choice. The couples who thrive aren't holding on to each other for survival. They're choosing each other from a place of wholeness. Nietzsche called this the higher marriage, a partnership between two strong, independent souls. Not a contract filled with promises, but a living bond that gets renewed each day. Not because they have to, but because they want to. And here's the twist. The couples who last the longest aren't the ones who swear forever on their wedding day. They're the ones who wake up each day and say, I choose you again. Love, to them, isn't a cage. It's a daily decision. And that's what keeps it alive. The problem with modern relationships is that we've built them on the wrong foundation. We chase comfort instead of excitement. We want guarantees instead of growth. We think routine equals love, but routine kills magic. Nietzsche's challenge: live on the edge. Don't let your relationship become a box you live in. Let it be an adventure, a mountain you keep climbing. That means never stopping, never assuming you or your partner are finished growing, always choosing each other as free people, seeing your partner not as something you own, but someone who could leave at any time and still chooses to stay. That's not scary. That's beautiful. That's respect. One of Nietzsche's deepest insights was that you don't need another person to be whole. Some of the most fulfilled people in history, artists, thinkers, warriors, didn't build their lives around love. They built their lives around purpose. They found meaning in the struggle, in the pain, in the growth. So no, this isn't about giving up on love. It's about transforming it. When you enter a relationship already full, already alive, you don't drain the other person. You energize them. You don't depend on them for meaning. You create meaning together. The world tells us to chase the fairy tale, the story where love solves everything, where security is the prize, where routine is romantic. But that story is a lie. Real love isn't safe. It's bold. It asks you to grow, to risk, to show up fully. We have a choice. We can keep chasing the fantasy. We can settle for comfort. We can play it safe and hope it lasts. Or we can take Nietzsche's challenge. We can build a love that's alive, that's wild, that's honest. I love where two whole people come together, not out of need, but out of joy. I love where every day is a new creation. Because the real question isn't whether you'll find love. It's this: who will you be when love finds you? Nietzsche's answer: become who you are. Not who society wants you to be. Not who someone else needs you to be. Just you. Fully. Authentically. Boldly. And when you do that, the right people will find you, not because you're broken, but because you're whole. That's not the end of the story. It's the beginning.